What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be a continuation of my series on the Mini called Maintenance and Mods. Previously we had done a buyer's guide and then a oil change. The next step in our process of just kind of trying to knock out some of the maintenance stuff is going to be to do spark plugs. I don't know the service history on these spark plugs when they were changed last, so I want to make sure that I get that covered because that can cause some drivability issues and things like that. Doing spark plugs on this car is a super simple process. I'm going to show you guys how to do it. There is one caveat to that though. You do need a special tool, or somewhat of a special tool. The actual spark plugs on this car are a 14 millimeter 12 point socket. You can get away with using a regular 14 millimeter 12 point. It's just not going to grip or hold on to the spark plug itself. This is actually a specialty socket that has a magnet in it that will hold on to the spark plug as you're pulling it out. This is also an extension socket so that you can get down through the valve cover. I have a couple different versions of this extension style socket just to be able to do spark plugs on these cars, because these and some BMWs use this 14 millimeter 12 point. So I have my special tool. I will put a link down in the description to that tool where I purchased it from. But we're going to get doing these spark plugs, so let's get to it. All right, so the first step in replacing our spark plugs is going to be to remove our ignition coils. These locking connectors on these ignition coils just pull up. Some of them, like these coils for instance, the plastic can actually be a little worn out to where it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Normally when you pick up on this lock, on this connector and fold it backwards like that, it's supposed to push the connector out. Sometimes they're a little spread out just from wear and they don't do that. So what you can do to help facilitate that is actually pinch the sides of the connector while you're pushing out or pushing up on it, and it will push the plug connection up out of the way. So we're going to get all of our ignition coils out of the way. And then sometimes these can be a little bit of a pain. Mine have been out before, so they're not hard to pull out. If you need to get yourself some assistance in pulling them out, you can take something like a flat blade screwdriver and put them through here and use it as kind of like leverage to like rock them out of there. Be careful not to pull too hard, because you actually pull these plastic locking tabs off of the actual ignition coil itself. So pull your ignition coils out, set them off to the side. I prefer to set them off to the side in order, just so if I have any kind of issues with them, I know that they haven't been moved around and things like that. Next, we're going to grab our special spark plug socket. Again, there will be a link in the description for this part, and we are just going to take our spark plugs out. And that one looks pretty good. That one's got a little bit of oil on it. Not super concerned about it. So normally when you're pulling spark plugs out, you would want to inspect them, make sure there's not anything crazy like a broken ground strap or anything like that, or the porcelain's broken on them. I will put a picture up here in the video to show you guys what some of the appearances of spark plugs can tell you about what's going on inside your engine. And then those pictures you can use as kind of a determining factor on whether or not you need to maybe dig in further to trying to figure out if there's other issues with your car. So we are now done with this whole process of removal. We're going to go back to putting our spark plugs back in. I wanted to show you guys the spark plug part number that I'm using. These are Bosch 9710s. These I ordered from a local parts store. We're going to put these back in. These all get torqued down to 23 Newton meters or 16 foot-pounds. If you want to make sure that you're torquing them properly. So we're going to drop them back in. First of all, I'm going to snug them up. I'm not actually going to torque them yet. You want to make sure that you're not trying to force the spark plug in there. See how I'm having a super easy job of just running it in with this. I would recommend, I have a little bit of experience doing spark plugs. If you've never done spark plugs before, probably using just your socket to start them and run them down into the cylinder, so you're not having an issue where you might accidentally cross thread the spark plugs into the cylinder head. So you see that mine are going in super easy. They shouldn't take a lot of effort to put in. Now that we've got them put all in there, I'm going to grab my torque wrench. I'm going to torque them all down to spec. Now I want to stress the importance of torquing your spark plugs in. If you don't tighten these up enough, they can, with the vibration and heat cycling of the engine, actually loosen themselves up and become loose. If they become loose, they can end up becoming a problem where they actually remove themselves from the cylinder head just due to cylinder compression. So make sure that you are torquing your spark plugs down. I don't normally torque spark plugs down because after years of working on cars, I kind of have a feel of how tight they should be. But please, if this is your first time, torque your spark plugs down with the torque wrench. And then now that we've done that, all we have to do is put our ignition coils back in, make sure that our plug connections are seated all the way. Make sure that they're seated all the way against the back. You'll know if they're not going in all the way, they'll only be halfway plugged in from what they looked like prior to taking it apart. So we're all done with this job. Again, super simple, easy task to do. All right, so as you can see, spark plug replacement, pretty easy on this engine. That's pretty, common with most four-cylinder engines. Spark plugs are normally up top, very easy to get to. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Again, I'll put a link in the description for the special tools, the tool that I used and some other ones that you can buy. And then I also put a link in the description to the actual spark plug part number that I used, just so you guys have a link to go purchase those for yourself. Hopefully this helped somebody out doing their own spark plugs on their car. If you guys have any questions or comments, please drop them down below and I will be sure to answer any questions you guys have. I would appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you later.